stop here just to build everybody's anxiety up a little bit. So, can you guys make out that there's a lake on the other side of these trees here?
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, you guys have been here, what, you said 5 years now?
Yep.
So each year this kind of fluctuates depending on how it's graded and how the wind blows. So some years you can see the lake real well, some years you can't.
Yep.
We'll get to see it a couple more times throughout the ride, so just bear with me as I talk about it a little bit, even though you can't really see it. This is Goshorn Lake, and the lake was made by glaciers a long time ago.
Oh, wow.
It's about 50 feet deep. It's currently half the size it used to be. The lake used to go out a ways into the lower part of the property here. The reason it shrunk was because of a logging town that used to exist right on Lake Michigan back in the 1830s. The name of the logging town, do you guys remember it? It's Singapore. Kind of a weird name to choose.
Singapore, right.
I honestly, I have no idea why. But over a 50-year period, they cut down all of the pine trees that used to be here.
Oh,
So
wow.
imagine this area being much flatter, covered in pine trees. What holds a tree in the ground?
Roots.
And what else do you think those roots kind of do to the sand so that it doesn't blow around? What is it? What would you guess?
Hold it together.
Kind of holds it together, right? So without those trees here, the winds off the lake could slowly blow the dirt away, and then below all that dirt was all of the sand. The sand came from glaciers too. The winds started to blow that, and the winds tend to go this way, moving it right in towards Goshorn Lake. And from what I've been told, at its peak, the sand started moving in at a rate of about 7 to 10 feet per year, so
Oh my
pretty
God.
quick. To help slow it down, in the 1960s, Michigan State students came out here and they hand planted dune grass throughout the area. And back then it was very thin, but dune grass kind of spreads by sending roots underground, then new grass comes up, and it's kind of created almost like an underground net over the sand. And now it's protected to the point where the winds aren't able to blow the sand into the lake, and it's relatively stable out here, so did a good job. We are going to ride through part of the area where the lake used to be. Once in a while we run into these things called sinkholes. Sinkholes?
Darn.
So at any moment the buggy could just drop right down into a big pool of water. This is why I don't seatbelt in, I can just hop right out. I wanted you guys to know though that in the event this were to happen, these seats will serve as flotation devices eventually.
So how deep is the water?
50 feet.
50 feet.
50 feet.
Yeah.
And how far do we fall?
Goshorn real quick. We'll also see
Doesn't know it's
later
a
on.
Hey, Red. Uh-oh. He is in over his head.
Way over his head.
No stopping, no
The
standing,
signs out
no
here are just
barking.
suggestions. Okay? No stopping, standing, parking, just a suggestion. Wrong way, one way, just a suggestion. The 35-mile-an-hour sign we go flying by a little bit later, also just a suggestion. So looking around the dunes here, you notice lots of dune grass. See a few tree stumps scattered around. Those stumps are actually remnants of some of the white pine that were cut down in the 1800s.
Wow.
Like I mentioned earlier, it was much flatter here. The dunes that are out here now were made in a way that's a lot like how a snowdrift is formed. So once the sand was loose and started blowing around, it would collect around stationary objects that were out here, a lot of times trees. Slowly that sand would pile up, the winds would kind of sculpt and shape it as it grew, and eventually it turned into this landscape that we have here now. We are gonna head up there, pick up a few people that fell off my last ride. And if you look at the top there, you see there's some cottonwood trees. Do you guys remember the story of those trees at all?
The kindergarten was?
No. How many trees do you see at the top of the dune? The kind with the leaves. How many do you think are up there?
10?
Oh, that's the top of those trees. Yeah. It's actually only 3 or 4 trees you're looking at, but it's the very top. The rest of each tree is buried in over 80 feet of sand right now.
Oh my gosh.
So they were left behind by the town of Singapore. Cottonwood is not useful from a lumbering standpoint, but what these trees can do, when the sand started coming in, instead of getting buried and choked out, they're able to send out new roots right from their trunk and their branches, keep above the sand. And now, if we could almost have x-ray vision, they're kind of like the bones to the sand dune now.
Yep.
So they're kind of the structure to it.
That's interesting.
That's cool.
We're gonna head up there. We'll be actually be able to see some of the exposed secondary roots that I was talking about when we get there. We'll get a nice view of the area, a hazy view of Lake Michigan, and I'll try to show you where the town of Singapore is located now too.
Okay. Cool. You hear him when he says he's lost, and we'll pick up a few he lost in mental.
It wasn't really funny, but I'll laugh for you. My own kids do that too, I can tell. Can you, I mean, you can see we don't have a great view of Lake Michigan,
No.
but it is out there where the trees stop. That's where the lake begins.
Oh, cool.
This is the widest point across the lake. If you wanted to swim from here to Wisconsin directly west, this is the widest spot. It's about 76 miles from here to Racine, Wisconsin on the other side.
Wow.
We'll try to locate a few things. It's not real easy, but we'll give it a whirl. So you see the dark row of pine trees right off in front of us there?
Yes.
Okay, those were planted by Michigan State students as well. They've kind of served as a wind block.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see in front of those pine trees is a tree with leaves that's a little over half as tall as the pine trees?
Yes.
Okay, go straight over top of the pine trees from that tree and you'll see a little bit of sand on top of a sand dune.
Mm-hmm.
That is the sand dune that's covering up the town of Singapore right now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So they started right around 1830. They were a logging town. The founder, O'Shea Wilder, had aspirations of this town becoming a great port city that would compete with a Chicago or a Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Obviously, that didn't exactly go to plan. By 1871, they were at their peak. They had roughly 23 buildings in the town, supposedly 2 hotels. They had 3 sawmills, a general store, a bank, schoolhouse. But that same year, 1871, the Great Chicago Fire hit.
Yep.
Have any of you kids read the I Survived series at all? So there's one on the Great Chicago Fire. This area supplied Chicago with so much lumber that by 1875, they had wiped out all of the white pine that were here. And once those were gone, obviously there was no more business for the sawmills. Sand started blowing into the town. There was not enough work. So the people ultimately just abandoned the town. They moved just a mile south of here to a little town known as the Flats, and they were actually able to get some of the buildings out of the town with them. The Flats is now known as Saugatuck. Sawmills were shipped up north to a town in Michigan called St. Ignace, which is still around. Supposedly what's underneath that dune out there yet is a 3-story hotel and 3 or 4 other smaller buildings.
Oh, wow.
The last time you could really see any portion of them was in the late 70s. You could see some of the corners of that hotel.
Wow.
We're gonna move ahead a little ways, give you a chance to get out. If you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Will do. What did Benny say?
Is he kidding?
Right? Okay, obviously you've had them. The WDRA, World Dune Ride Association, he's been nominated as Dune Ride Driver of the Year. There is a bi-yearly publication, magazine. You're getting the centerfold?
I could be in the centerfold of that. You got me in the truck and it kind of folds out.
Yeah. So
The WDRA available on most fine newsstands.
congrats. Yeah.
I love it.
We're gonna take 5-10 minutes to get out, walk around. If you want to run down a sand dune, go to your left over there. The trail comes up over here. Nice view of the, nice view. To the right. I can help with pictures, let me know. And if you want to leave your shoes on board, feel free.
Okay.
Thank you.